So picture this. You back in your car out of the garage, you feel this sudden, unexpected dip, and then you see it. A massive, ugly crack splitting your once perfect concrete driveway. Honestly, it's a homeowner's total nightmare, right? And you know what the worst part is? It almost always happens because one critical detail was totally ignored right at the very beginning of the project. But how do we actually prevent it? Well, it all starts with one absolutely fundamental question. How thick should a concrete driveway be? Welcome to the Explainer.
Now, there are some pretty clear warning signs when a driveway is failing. We're talking cracks wider than 1/8 of an inch, uneven or sinking slab sections, surface flaking, which, by the way, the pros call spalling, and visible deflection when heavy vehicles park on it. If you're seeing any of these symptoms, well, your driveway was likely poured way too thin for the weight it carries. And I want to speak directly to your wallet for a second here. Diagnosing these early failure signs and understanding exactly why they happen, that makes getting the right thickness specs up front an insurance policy against doing the whole job twice. Because tearing up and replacing failed concrete, yeah, that is going to seriously hurt your bottom line.
So, in today's Explainer, our ultimate goal is to completely demystify concrete thickness and structural requirements. We're going to take all the guesswork out of your next big pour and make sure your driveway is built to literally last for decades. Okay, let's dive into this bottom-up blueprint. First up, choosing your driveway thickness. Second, soil, weight, and weather. Third, the role of reinforcement. And finally, keys to proper installation.
Section 1. Choosing your driveway thickness. Scaling up from residential to industrial loads. When we're talking about choosing thickness, you absolutely cannot use a one-size-fits-all approach. You really have to segment your structural requirements based on exactly what you plan to park on that concrete. For most of us, the magic number for a standard residential driveway is 4. 4 inches of concrete is the widely accepted baseline spec if you're primarily parking everyday passenger cars and light pickup trucks. And you know, when it's properly installed with a really well-compacted base underneath and properly spaced control joints, a 4-inch residential slab can reliably last you 25 to 30 years. Honestly, sometimes even more.
But if you upgrade those specs to 5 inches, you are buying some serious peace of mind. That extra inch of thickness is absolutely crucial if you're regularly parking heavier SUVs, heavy-duty pickup trucks, or RVs. It's also highly recommended if your property sits on poor soil conditions. That extra 25% of concrete thickness, it provides the necessary structural protection against long-term stress and weight distribution.
From there, we take a pretty dramatic leap to 8+ inches. And make no mistake, this is definitely not for your average suburban cul-de-sac. This massive level of thickness is strictly engineered for industrial staging yards or heavy oil field fleets. Think about the constant, heavy-duty commercial activity you might see out in the Permian Basin of West Texas, for example. Thin slabs simply do not survive in those brutal, high-stress environments. You're going to need 8 inches or more of highly engineered concrete just to handle that kind of daily punishment.
And this table brilliantly illustrates our master matrix. It's basically a definitive guide showing how the application dictates both thickness and reinforcement. As you can see, residential strictly stays around 4 inches with basic wire mesh or fiber. But the moment you introduce RVs or heavy pickups to the equation, it jumps up to 5 or 6 inches with heavy steel rebar. Then it scales right up to 7 to 8+ inches with complex engineered rebar systems for those commercial and industrial loads. It's really a perfect systematic pairing of your load requirements directly to your engineering specs.
Moving on to Section 2. Soil, weight, and weather. The hidden variables that impact your concrete. I want you to think of your driveway kind of like an iceberg. The smooth concrete surface you actually see is really only part of the equation. Hidden below and all around it are these vital influencing factors. First off, soil and subgrade conditions. If you live in an area with expansive clay, which is super common in places like Midland and Odessa, Texas, that soil actually shrinks when it's dry and aggressively swells up when it absorbs moisture. That causes an immense amount of movement. Then you've got vehicle load and traffic frequency. Repeated heavy loads create these long-term stress cycles that will easily snap a thin slab over time. And hey, don't forget the climate. Extreme summer heat and freezing winter temperatures cause the concrete itself to expand and contract, so your slab's engineering has to be robust enough to manage all of these crazy environmental dynamics.
Section 3. The role of reinforcement. Debunking the biggest myth in driveway construction.
Now, what's really interesting about this next slide is that there is a massive misconception we need to clear up right here, right now, about what reinforcement actually does, and maybe more importantly, what it doesn't do inside a concrete slab. Thicker concrete is what actually improves your overall load capacity to handle shear, heavy vehicle weight,
Reinforcement, however, using materials like steel rebar, wire mesh, or synthetic fibers, improves structural strength, holds the slab together to control cracking, and helps distribute the load across a much wider area. So the absolute crucial point is this: reinforcement heavily complements thickness, but it never ever replaces it. You literally cannot pour a flimsy 2-inch slab, throw a grid of heavy rebar in it, and magically expect it to hold up a massive RV without failing. It just doesn't work that way.
Reinforcement transitions from being just a nice optional extra to being absolutely essential under a few specific conditions. Like when the slab exceeds 4 inches in thickness, when heavy trucks are going to be a regular occurrence, when soil movement is highly likely, or really for any commercial or industrial use. In challenging environments, especially those dealing with the expansive soils and intense heat typical of a place like West Texas, putting in rebar or wire mesh isn't just some contractor trying to upsell you. It is a strictly necessary, really wise investment to prevent catastrophic separation at those key stress points.
Finally, Section 4, Keys to Proper Installation, the blueprint for long-lasting success.
Look, here is the harsh reality of construction. Even the thickest, most incredibly heavily reinforced concrete in the world will inevitably fail if the professional prep work and the actual installation are compromised. The whole process starts long before the concrete truck ever arrives, with a really thorough site evaluation and soil testing, followed immediately by precise excavation and grading. The compaction of your base materials, that is foundational, literally, because if your base settles, your concrete cracks, period. After setting accurate forms and placing the reinforcement at the exact correct depth in the slab, and not just letting it lazily sink to the bottom of the dirt, mind you, the final hurdle is mix selection and curing. In places with intense baking heat, rapid moisture loss can severely weaken the slab surface and cause almost immediate shrinkage cracking if it's not managed properly by a pro team.
Which leaves us with one final, very important question for you to ask yourself. Is your driveway truly built for what you're parking on it? Before you plan your next big concrete pour, take a really close look at your specific vehicle load requirements, your regional soil conditions, and your local climate. Taking the time to do the exact math on thickness and reinforcement today, that is going to save you a massive, expensive headache tomorrow. Thanks so much for diving into the details with me on this explainer, and keep building smart.